way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow.
Thank you everyone for coming out this afternoon to call on the Swarthmore's Board of Managers to cease supporting and legitimizing an industry that is actively making our planet uninhabitable. Our position as members of an elite institution allow us the unique opportunities to send out a loud message against the actions of an industry which has consistently chosen profit over the lives of people. The board has decided to stand on the wrong side of history, despite the wishes of our campus community. Just as the power of the fossil fuel industry's interests have stifled meaningful action on climate change nationally, ties to the fossil fuel industry from members on our own board hold back meaningful climate change discussion here at Swarthmore. The financial ties that board members Rhonda Cohen, Harold Cox-Stein, and Sam Hayes III have to the fossil fuel industry have compromised the decision of divestment at Swarthmore.
This is a real privilege to have the opportunity to introduce John Braxton. Perhaps his most important distinction is being an alumni of Swarthmore College, class of 1970. But he was also awarded an honorary degree by the college in 2010. At the time, President Chop, when introducing him, said that his, quote, long history of advocating for social and economic justice and tireless efforts to campaign against the proliferation of American military power in the Third World have helped to reshape politics and institutions from the local to the national level. So here we have a person who understands in a lot of very upfront, first-hand ways the intersection of global politics and labor and economics and science and the environment. He called on us to build an economic system that puts people before profits. And these are, of course, goals that are at the heart of the divestment campaign. So John is with us again today. I see he's arrived. Having identified divestment from fossil fuels as an important niche in the movement to avoid climate change catastrophes. And he's been joined, as we've just noted, but I'm going to read those names again, fellow honorary degree recipients and MIT professors Noam Chomsky and Lottie Balin, along with the renowned sociologist Arlie Hochschild, novelist and activist Lorene Carey, and linguist Barbara Hall-Partee, in calling on our Board of Managers to divest the college's $1.9 billion endowment.
I think some people would look at a group like this and say, what's a small group of students at a small liberal arts college? What kind of difference is that going to make? You know, how could that actually matter? And they would be really wrong. Climate change, we're dealing with a much more complex issue. It's not just trying to stop one war. It's not trying to stop apartheid in one country. It's not just trying to change some laws that make segregation legal. It's a much, you know, it's an issue that goes to the heart of our economic and our political systems. And there's a lot of talk these days about the corruption in our political system, right? So we know that the big oil companies, the big coal companies are putting in massive amounts of money into campaigns to try to keep their power. Is that for you all, this is both something that you take a lot of pride in and a lot of joy in, as well as a certain amount of hard struggle, and know that what you're doing is making a difference now, but that it's also part of a decision that you make to really make your lives matter. Right now, our society is governed largely by large corporations, and they make their decisions mostly based on relatively short-term profit. You know, Martin Luther King said that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I think that's accurate. I think that if you look at the long arc, things change. It's not a smooth arc. It's full of little zigzags. But ultimately, I think we are moving society in the right direction. We can move it in the right direction. We really are faced with the prospect of climate change that is so serious that it could threaten to end civilization. And so it's going to be a long battle, and this battle around divestment is just one little skirmish in it. But I think it's a skirmish that matters, and that to me is what's important, is that all of the little things that we do actually do add up. So I thought it might be just useful for a minute to just look at some of the arguments that people use against divestment. Why shouldn't Swarthmore divest? It's often trotted out as, well, it's not really effective. There's surely more effective ways to do this work, and people that make this argument are quick to point out all the other ways that are more effective. You know, it's kind of like, I'd rather not have to do something in my backyard. Go change it somewhere else. But I think we can also look at that and say, ask Nobel Prize-winning Bishop Tutu, is divestment effective? He'll talk about how divestment from South Africa was one of the key tools. So I don't think that argument holds water. It's not to say that divestment is the only tool, but it's one important tool. What about maximizing our profits so that we can keep Swarthmore strong? Well, there are just hundreds of institutions that have figured out how they can divest from fossil fuels and still have a good income to their investments. In fact, some of them have found out that it works better because coal stocks aren't doing so well these days. And oil is going to go the same way eventually. And it's a strange argument for a college that has pride, rightly, in its Quaker background, where Quakers talk about the inner light that's in each person, and that's the most important thing, not profits. And so what kind of sense does it make for an institution like Swarthmore to say we're putting profits ahead of people and really ahead of the future of the planet? The divestment campaign, to me, it's a few drops of water. Swarthmore is a few drops of water in the global economy. But they do matter, and they're part of this bigger stream, and they're part of the bigger stream that was able to end apartheid in South Africa. I think we're going to need a massive campaign of civil disobedience where people are going to be prepared to go to jail in order to stand up for what they believe in. But that's okay. I'm living proof that you can spend a year and a half in jail and come out pretty happy. And so the final quote that I want to end with I think is important for us all to think about, and I hope it's one that the Board of Managers will think about. He said, "Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when we must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right." And so all of us today say to the Board of Managers here at Swarthmore, do what's right. Join the progressive forces of history. Stop dragging your feet. Divest from fossil fuels. When you make this decision, you'll be proud that you did. Thank you so much. This letter, and those of us that, whose names are on it are honorary degree recipients from here at Swarthmore, which we're very proud of. And we wanted to give this letter to you and hope that you will pass it on to the board and that they will reconsider their decision of last spring to not divest in fossil fuels. So we hope very much that you'll take this seriously. It's obvious there's a lot of support among the student body. We know there's a lot of support among the faculty, and there's a lot of alumni that are supporting this also. So we appreciate your passing this on, and I personally would be glad to dialogue with President Smith and with the head of the board or anyone else at any time. And I'm right here in Philadelphia, so not just a little train ride away. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Okay. Thank you.